The first time I realized that, I just laughed for like a week. I thought that was the funniest thing. It's like blind people going through the drive-through at the
It's
ATM.
funny, except if you're blind. I mean, really, or you're the car right if you're right behind the
Yeah,
guy that's
right
blind.
behind.
I mean, how does he know how to stop?
Oh, that's funny.
He, how does
Oh,
he know how
that's
to
great.
stop?
It's just
Very
You
funny.
know.
Hi, Dave.
Well, by the way, we were just talking about Braille at the drive-through ATM window. Could anyone explain that to us? Before that, we were talking about blind piano tuners, and soon we'll be talking about blind Melon Chitlin, that famous blues player from the South. But David, you did a lot of piano work with
Well,
Yusiki.
first of all, when I lived in Tahoe, I lived with Francois Doucette, who was the piano tuner for Lake Tahoe, and we made our third bedroom into a shop. And he would bring in entire piano actions and voice them. And so when you see a tuner spend an hour and a half on a piano, that's impressive. But when you see a tuner pull the entire action out and sit there and fluff up each hammer and measure how high and what kind of pressure each hammer goes to,
Oh my
you
goodness.
realize that there's so much more to a piano than tuning it. It's voicing it is what it's called.
Yeah.
And
So I have a question. Who here has ever had to do the solder on the tine of a Wurlitzer piano?
I did.
Did you really?
Yeah, I had one once, and I did, and I thought I could make
Wow.
it better. Was
So,
not easy.
so Wayne, you must have done it, or you wouldn't ask that question. That's not a normal question.
Yeah, but the question begs to be asked.
It
Can you
does.
tune a fish?
Can
Can you
a
tune a
fish?
fish? That's it. What album was that? Who did that? You can tune a piano.
Speedwagon.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. Very,
So,
very good.
so,
Yeah.
so, David, are you actually home, or is that a facade behind you?
No, I got home a couple of days ago, and I'm leaving again on Monday.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
But yes, I'm home,
Home for the heat.
not for long.
How hot
Yeah,
is it out there today, man? It was cooking today.
it's been pretty warm, yeah, last few days.
115 here in Arizona.
I didn't
today.
go out yet today, so I'm
Yeah.
going out tonight to.
It's in the mid-90s here. Oh, what's going on there?
A
So
beautiful
Fred, you're
noise.
outside, right?
The Neil Diamond musical is there. A beautiful
Ah.
noise, so we're going to go see that.
Let me know
was
how
that?
it is, because I saw Neil Diamond a few times. I saw Hot August Nights, and I was such a fan of his. And I had an old girlfriend way back, and she was too. And I'll tell you, I would have a hard time seeing somebody do Neil Diamond because I was just such a fan of Neil Diamond.
Well, I saw him too, and I was friends with Stan Miller, so
I knew him, but I can't say I was friends with him.
But we'll see. I mean, the music is the music.
Yeah, yeah. I remember with Stan, he had these boxes that he built with JBL that were called Stanley Screamers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when I had 36 of them out in Boeing in 1982 when we rolled out the 757, I had 36 of those damn things on platforms because they didn't hang; they were just big square refrigerators.
Yeah.
They were so funny, but they worked good.
Fiberglass.
They worked pretty good.
They were all fiberglass, gray fiberglass.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I remember them well. Stanley
Neil
Screamers.
Diamond, good performer, good performer. Patrick Stansfeld, may he rest in peace, was Neil's production manager or stage manager, or all of it combined. Also, Barbara Streisand. And I was friends with Patrick. I always wanted to do business with him, but he would always invite me whenever Neil was in town and Barbara was in town. I'd always get an invite to see the setup, and it was always impressive. Always impressive.
So I knew one of the riggers that did his tours all the time, and he bought his whole crew one time, brand new Harley Davidsons after the tour. I was just totally blown away.
Yeah.
In fact,
And Stan L used to do a sound. Stan L.
Yes. Now, is there any truth
Stan
to the
Miller.
rumor? Do you guys know that Stan, when the digital consoles first came out, like the 01V was this little 16-channel pocket sort of digital console? I had heard a rumor that Stan did Neil Diamond's concert with like 5 or 6 of these all lined up together, all patched together, because he wanted to use digital consoles, and he sort of mastered that. Did you hear that? Is that true?
He used to do that, and then he also used to give the guys in the band their own digital console so they can mix their monitors. And he tied everything together. Yeah.
Do you remember what console that he used to line up at front of house? Do you remember what it
Depends on
was?
what year it was. He kept improving every time something new came out.
Absolutely.
He was the guy. He
Oh,
was the state of the art
oh.
any given moment.
That's
Yeah, I
just
I
remember
so
think
later
funny.
on
he was the
reading about
first one to
5Ds.
mix. I think he was one of the first people to mix without a fader bank, using his computer to mix. If I, he was very impressive in those days. That was before anyone else was using
Wow.
digital.
Well, remember when we
I
used to do
believe
the
he's
press
still
room for the
alive.
Oscars?
Yeah, stands
ATK was
for
in there with O2Rs
O2Rs.
in the day.
Yeah, 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 yep, yeah.
yeah. He always had the best toys.
He-
Yep. Yes, definitely. So always interesting to talk to. Always interesting
Yeah.
guy. And no matter who you were, no matter how low you were on the totem pole, he related to you as a human being.
You know who I
He
used to
had no
love?
ego.
I used to love him dearly as Bruce Burns. I did a bunch of gigs with Bruce Burns, and he was an Apogee fan, and I never could understand that because I always hated those things. But he had like 3x3s and AE5s, and we did a bunch of gigs together. And he was such a sweetheart. And his housekeeper's daughter used to be. I lived right up the road from him, about 5 houses, and his housekeeper's daughter used to babysit for us all the time. And he was such a great guy. I
Wow,
miss
the
him.
housekeeper's daughter. That sounds like a porno movie I wanted to see once.
You know what? I often wondered, Jan. I often wondered because
Hey, by the way,
think,
excuse me for 1 second, Bruce. I got to stop you. I got to introduce everybody what you're listening to. Thinking Out Loud with Friends of SoundBroker. Everything you hear today is an opinion. Now, Bruce, we can hear your opinion. Go for it.
so he lived up the road from me a couple of houses, and they had a summer place in Belize. So he found his housekeeper in Belize and brought her to America, and she lived at the house with him and his wife and kids. And he had a few kids, but her daughter, I don't know where her daughter came from. But her daughter, was like 17 or something, and she used to come up and babysit for us when my kids were really little all the time, and it was just too funny. But I often wondered some really funny things about that. But I miss
Yeah.
Bruce a lot. We did
I-
we did is it a Tony Danza song and dance? He tap dances, and we mic'd his taps a bunch of different ways, and he had an orchestra, and we did a bunch of those gigs together. And Bruce Burns was just a great guy. He was just a cool guy.
Yes, he was. Hey, well, I'm glad, we all got to know him, or at least I got to know him. He was a nice guy. And he was like way ahead in regards to the fact that, whenever there was a TV production, Bruce was involved in the
Yes.
early days.
Yep. And
So,
all his Apogee stuff always sounded great. I was never a big Apogee fan, but I never minded working with him because his rig always sounded great. So it's like he was an Apogee guy, so whatever.
Yeah.
And
I
I
always
learned
liked-
I
thought
learned
the
about
85s
Bruce.
The 85s
Say
were
that
great
again?
because they were loud, but they just weren't that musical to me.
I never. I
And
thought
the
they sounded kind of dead.
The 3x3s are wretched.
Yeah, I thought I always thought they just had no life. They just weren't. They didn't talk to you. They just sort of existed.
They were loud though.
That's how I got into concert. That's how I got into stage management and production management indirectly, thanks to Bruce.
Really?
Not that he knows that. Yeah. Basically,
You know what? We were probably on the same gig together once or twice. I have no doubt.
Oh, I am sure we were. I was doing a lot of. You remember Stig Egren? Do you know guys? Anybody know who Stig Egren is?
I know Stig. I work with him on Share.
Right. Well, he was working with Bruce all the time, and I was always marketing to him A1 Audio because I was the competitor. I was the head of sales of A1 Audio at the time, and Bruce and I wanted that market. Where Bruce was, and of course I couldn't get it. But Stig one day said to me, "Look, I can't give you A1, but I'll tell you what I'll do. I can't make one of these gigs I'm doing. How would you like to do it for me?" And I said, "Okay, sure." And he says, "If you want, you can bring A1 in and I'll give you." And it turns out that I didn't realize that people were getting paid for production management. I just thought it was part of the sound company job. That was it, when I would bring in the sound company. And I found out that he was going to pay me for a job. And I took it, and from then on in, I just started doing production management and bringing my sound company along with me.
So, Jan, did you ever go to El Siniscal's house in Las Vegas and be there when he was blowing off his cannon out in the backyard?
I don't ever remember him blowing off a cannon.
He had
in
a
his
cannon
backyard.
in the backyard. It was like off of some ship. And Tony and him were very good friends. And
They still are.
yeah, I wondered if he was still around because I haven't heard his name in ages. And I used to mix on the system that he had in the Westgate, which is the Hilton then, plus over at Caesars. They had that showroom over there where Tony, Orlando, and
They
Dawn
had
was.
every room.
Yeah,
in
every
Las
room
Vegas
over
at
there.
one time.
Yeah, they had those great big hanging things with the amplifiers in the back, and I remember them well. And I remember one afternoon on the weekend Tony and I had stopped over there for some damn thing. He had just moved into that house, and he was showing me a stereo system because he had this trick-ass stereo system. And then we were like, all of a sudden, we're out in the backyard blowing this cannon off, and I thought, this has got to be the strangest dude. He's into woofers and cannons,
Yeah, I don't remember the
Yeah.
cannon, but I do remember I do remember his stereo system.
He had
was
a
quite
nice stereo, yes, all
I had
racked
a,
up.
Yeah,
in
it's a
the-
nice house too.
Yeah, it's a very nice house. Yeah.
had a buddy of
David,
mine
when was the
I
last
a
time
kid.
you saw him?
Oh, it's
not
got
too long ago.
it's half. Last time I saw him is at least was 10 or 15 years ago. Anyway, I got to be honest with you. I would wondered if he was still alive.
No, I saw him last year. He came to a Hotel California show.
Oh
We hung
wow!
out for a while. I see him periodically.
How is he? Is he okay?
Yeah, he's still Al,
He's a funny
Still the
guy. Yeah.
same. Nothing changes.
Moving
Well,
right along now,
that's good
moving
to
right
hear.
along for various reasons.
That's
When
good.
I was in 8th grade,
Right, David?
when I was in metal shop, I turned my own cannon on a lathe. And so I still have this cannon, and they wouldn't let me bore it at the school. The school was like, nope, you can't bore the cannon. But I did the whole shape and the whole 9 yards. And there happened to be this old geezer up the street with a metal lathe. And he's like, can I borrow your metal lathe to bore this? Oh, yes, sure. And bored the cannon out. And yeah, just,
How big?
And
How
those
big
were
was
the
the
days
cannon?
where you could just walk in and buy black powder. You didn't have to have a federalized ID card and all this other crap. Dad would just go in and buy black powder. And then I'd take it home, and I had wadding and all of it. And I blew the fuck out of palm trees and all sorts of different stuff with that thing.
How big was the cannon, Chris?
Huh?
How big was the cannon?
Probably about, I don't know, maybe 14 inches. Probably like that. And maybe that, well, it was tapered and I did all of it. The bore was probably 3/4 of an inch. Maybe.
That sounds like what Al had. Something about that size.
Yeah,
But it was all cold. I mean, the real bee's knees is if you can get one of these small, real brass cannons that they had back in the time. Those things are, super collectible now. They're very, very expensive, but they work, man. I mean, all you do is put black powder and wadding, and the risk of the thing blowing up is like just zero, but it makes a horrendous sound, and the huge roll of smoke coming off the barrel is really something else.
And I thought we were hip when we were kids. We used to put black powder in a piece of masking tape and leave one end open and turn into a little
Oh God,
a little bottle rocket.
And try to take that on a plane today, right? Yeah, try to take that one on a plane,
You know what we used to do in high school? We had two cafeterias, and one was called the smoking lounge and the other was called the non-smoking lounge. And I smoked back then. So so we used to take matches, and we would have tables, those big long tables in the cafeterias, and we'd have teams of people, not on purpose, but it just sort of worked out that way. And I would take my pack of Marlboros and tear the aluminum foil off the inside of it and wrap the matchsticks so that it made like an exhaust pipe out the end of the matchstick.
It shot just a little bit.
Oh, and I'd mount them on a fork, and I would light the thing, and hold the flame underneath the fork, and this thing would take off and go like 50 feet across the room and it would leave a trail of smoke all the way. Man, I got kicked out of school so many times for that.
Oh yeah, I'll bet you did. I'll bet you did. You
And
know
my
who
dad
else
was
probably got-
the superintendent of the school system, so that never went over very well.
Oh my God.
Well, I
You know
think
who else
the other,
probably got kicked out of school a lot? Ozzy Osbourne. And by the way,
he
he
just
just
did his last
performed. Did you
show.
guys see? Did you see his last show?
No,
Anybody see it?
I heard he was doing a
76
gig.
years old.
It was like a
76 years
10-hour
old.
full deal with like Mastodon and Metallica and a whole bunch of folks went out and played. Yeah.
Was Black
Yeah,
Sabbath with him too?
Oh yeah, the original Black Sabbath. Plus, I mean, amazing guests. I mean, Steven Tyler sounded fantastic.
Yeah.
Where did
Yes,
Where
he
was
did.
the show?
Birmingham.
Villa
Birmingham.
Park. Villa Park in
Oh,
Birmingham.
God, I hope they
And he-
recorded it.
And
Oh, they
he
did.
couldn't even move. I mean, he was, basically, I believe I think that he's suffering from Parkinson, but he did
Well,
come up and
he had neck surgery not that long ago, and I don't think it was all that successful.
Well, he
Yeah.
sat in a chair. He didn't walk. They brought
That's
him
right.
up with an elevator in the chair. They slid him back
Oh,
on.
wow.
yeah,
Wow.
thrown.
Or
great
when you
chair.
go on
Giant
YouTube and
Ozzy
look it up.
Osbourne chair.
How did he sound?
But he
He
didn't.
sounded okay.
Did he
Steven
sound like
Tyler,
him?
like Greg said, Steven Tyler. Look up the Steven Tyler. He did a whole lot of love by Zeppelin,
Yeah.
Really?
and I was reading the backstory about why he did Zeppelin because Black Sabbath saw it. I guess Tommy Iommi heard Led Zeppelin's first album and was blown away by it, as everybody was back at the time. And it went to Ozzy and he said, "Oh, these guys are heavy." And Tommy said, "We're going to be heavier." But that clip, I mean, look it up on YouTube. Tyler was on fire, man. That song was killer. Jeez.
Yeah, it's the best I've ever. I mean, I've done thousands of Aerosmith shows, and that was the best I've heard him. Wow, since '75.
Wow.
So did anybody see Oasis perform? I mean, I don't quite understand what's going on there with Oasis and why their reunion is so big. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I've never been a big, huge Oasis fan, but the reason it was a big deal is because the brothers had a falling out and were so acrimonious. I mean, they probably make the Black Crowes brothers feud seem pedestrian in nature. I think.
Oh, they
that's
were
part of it.
brothers. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Noel and Liam Gallagher are the brothers of Oasis, but man, I probably could, if I heard a couple of whatever their biggest songs was, I'd probably recognize it, but I'm not a big follower, so.
I never even
Yeah.
heard of him. Huh. Wow.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sure if you heard a couple of their tracks, you'd
I
recognize it.
probably would, yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So
All right. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. That was really fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
where you going?
Just because there was a drop in silence. So
Yeah.
No.
Hold
God,
on.
it's
Okay,
okay.
Jan-
It's
Jan-
okay every
Jan.
once in a while.
Jan, lead us into the
Yeah.
next subject.
Okay, well, let's see. I'm looking for it right now. Actually, there is a band that is AI that is. I'm trying to find it. Yeah, okay, here it is. An AI act called the Velvet Sundown
Yeah.
That should be interesting.
500,000
Yeah,
Spotify
there's
listeners
a Rick
in less than a
Beato
month.
video on these guys.
Really,
And
it's an AI band?
It's an AI band. So Rick Beato was talking about it, and so he basically took the tracks from the band and he put them into his DAW. He uses Logic, and he tried to generate the stems from the mix, and the stems all like really suck, and that's a telltale sign apparently of a failed of AI. because they just don't have the detail.
It's not multi-tracked.
Well,
Yeah.
it is multi-track insofar. Yeah, maybe, it may not be kind of quote unquote multi-track. And when they try to get the stems out, it just sounds really crappy. There's all sorts of artifacts, but Beato has a brilliant video about that group in particular up on his website on YouTube.
Yeah. Let me fill you in a little bit. So an AI act called The Velvet Sundown pulled in 500,000 Spotify listeners less than a month after its debut. The group released 2 classic rock-style albums, Floating on Echoes and Dust and Silence, with a third scheduled in 2 weeks. Internet users uncovered that 4 listed members don't exist
AI,
and
that
spotted
just kills
obvious
me.
AI artifacts in the band's Instagram photos.
Yeah.
Spotify offers the music without any AI label, and while Deezer added a disclaimer that some tracks were generated by artificial intelligence. The episode shows how seamless AI music slips into mainstream playlists and attracts human-scale audiences. It also highlights transparency gap, and as the leading streaming platform disagree on whether listeners should know when creativity comes from a machine. And I
Correct.
think that is something that we in this industry really need to be afraid of.
Oh yeah, no, it's I was talking to somebody that does film and television, and the amount of AI that's currently being used in production today. So there are several cases where during COVID, they couldn't move actors and actresses around very easily because of all of these, times that they had to incubate and all this other stuff. So if they wanted to continue with the production and they had everybody on site and, everybody had, no one had COVID and they're all testing and blah, blah. So they cast older actors, and then they just dropped their age using AI. So they had like a 23-year-old guy who's quite a good actor, and he played a 16-year-old, and it obviously didn't work. But then they took the video, the digitized version of the film, and AI morphed him down to 16.
Yeah, well, AI is definitely here. It's if you haven't been to 11labs.io, you owe it to yourself to go there. And if you haven't played with Google Notebook, LLM, oh my God, the technology is here. I mean, the Ford CEO Jim Farley said that artificial intelligence will replace literally half of all white-collar workers in the U.S. He just said that, and I mean, it
has its
people
place,
out.
though. It has its place, though. Look at what a good example. It's coming up in Las Vegas here on the August 28th. Is what the Sphere people did to the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, and I hear that there's a big demand to go see it.
Yeah, well, Robert said he saw like a 5-minute, 10-minute snippet of it, and it was just stunning. And what they did was they took the original mono track and separated out Judy Garland's voice out of that, and then re-recorded it all and re-recorded the orchestra and all of the soundtrack, and then extracting that and cleaning up that mono track, and then spatializing it out for the Sphere. So I would love to see that show, but
well, the thing is the audience is, I guess, your demographic, because I don't think the kids today give a rat's ass about it, because they just saw what was the movie Wicked that just came out based on that, right? So I mean, that's
and
what
they've
they're
got
at.
Lilo and Stitch. Why would you want to watch a dumb movie with a Tin Man and all that other stuff? Not exciting.
Oh, by the way, speaking of movies, before I go back to AI, did you guys see Formula One, F1. What a movie!
Yeah, it was
I
good.
have to tell you.
I've been talking about it for 2 weeks, Jan. I'm glad you went and saw it.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was
It's
good.
amazing.
I
Yeah.
saw it
You
too.
see,
Great movie.
well, Greg, not that people are not paying attention to you, because believe me, they are. But in this case,
Isn't it based on a true story, that guy?
I don't know
Oh.
about that.
I
it's
think
based on a true story of F1 racing cars.
I
Yeah.
thought that guy was actually, he had gotten in an accident and came back and everything. I thought that was based on his story.
I don't know.
I
I
doubt
haven't heard that, but
No, I didn't hear that either.
I need to
But
do
it's a
my
good
own
story.
research.
It's a good story. It makes sense. There's no flaws in the storyline. But what it does is it educates you on F1. And all of a sudden, in my whole life, I never, ever watched F1 on TV. And the other day, I turned it on, and it
You
was
were watching
raining in
Silverstone.
England.
Wasn't that?
Yeah,
Wasn't it a great
Silverstone.
race?
The
Yeah.
driving
Yeah.
footage was amazingly great. Yes.
It was raining like crazy. You couldn't even see anything, but it was still
And these guys
fascinating
are
to
going
me.
100 and 160, 180 miles an hour, and there
In the
was
rain.
there was one wreck where this guy just flat out rear-ended another guy, and he just said, "Sorry, I didn't see it until the last second," and just wham, and he
Well,
was
how
out of
could
the
you
race.
see anything when you saw the footage of it, the
Yeah.
clouds of water and fog and smog or whatever it was, you
Yeah.
couldn't see the car in front of you. And the other thing is, which is amazing me, is every one of those teams is $140 million. $140
That's
million
scary,
bucks.
isn't it?
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of the technology, falls down into our cars of today. Like, for example, a lot of the cars have those paddle shifters on the
Right.
steering wheel.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
that's-
I don't know.
Stock car racing too. I mean, it's amazing that everything that comes into cars from even in the space, world,
Yeah.
You know, a
I
lot
think
of people
ABS
don't realize,
brakes.
Jan, a lot of people don't realize that Tang was developed in Formula
Yeah.
One.
The space. Was it Formula One?
Formula One, yeah, Tang, baby, hey,
yeah. Tang was. And speaking of high school stuff, so the other great story now that the statute of limitations has expired. My father was a mechanical engineer, and he was in the Army.
I'm sorry, is this a Jeffrey Epstein story you're talking about
Not
right
at
now?
all.
No. Oh, okay,
Not at all.
That
okay.
doesn't
And,
exist. That doesn't exist. Remember that.
And no, it's all a figment of your imagination.
Yeah, just
so-
ask Giselle Maxwell. It never happened.
So my father's a mechanical engineer. He's in the Army, and so later, when I'm older, he starts talking to me about thermite, and I was like, God, what's thermite? He's like, oh yeah, we had these thermite grenades, and if you came up on, if your own equipment broke down and you didn't, and there was no way to fix it, and you had to get rid of it so that the enemy couldn't use it, you'd put a thermite grenade on top of the motor, and it would burn straight through it. And so I went to into my chem lab in high school when no one was around, and took out the the recipe book, get the THERMITE out. Thermite is radically simple. Do not do this at home, by the way. Do not.
You
research.
will be arrested.
And
either that or you'll burn down your house.
you basically mix this stuff up, and it was beautiful because we had all of this stuff was already ground up, and so I just eyeballing it with a spoon from the cafeteria, mixed this stuff up, cut off a little piece of magnesium ribbon, and went back over to my dorm room, which had a cement balcony, piled the stuff up, and lit the magnesium ribbon, and the magnesium ribbon burns, and this thing starts turning red and smoking, and I'm like, this really isn't all that exciting. And I come back about 20 minutes later, and it's out, and I'm like, well, I probably ought to clean this up. So I took a broom and swept it away, and there was a divot the size of a golf ball in the cement. This thing
Like all the way through?
Burned into the cement about, I don't know, half, 3/4 of an inch. Yeah, just burned right through cement. This stuff's crazy. And just
Well, you
as
could
a,
probably find a recipe like that right now
well,
on
actually, so
AI.
if any of you watched what was the Walter White thing, Breaking Bad?
Yeah.
Yes.
Remember
Yeah.
when they have to break into the building to get like the precursors for their stuff, and he used thermite to melt the lock to get into the building. So
Oh,
I could-
interesting.
there you
There's a
go.
kind of a theme in a couple of things that you've been talking about. First, a cannon. Now
Oh,
thermite.
I was a back. That was that was a long time ago. But yeah, I love explosions and fireworks and
You're
all that.
probably the kind of guy, Chris, that broke thermometers just to play with the mercury, right?
Never did that.
Oh, I did.
Oh, well,
I know.
that's wonderful. Yeah, it tastes really good. You ought to try it.
I put it in my tuna fish now.
Do not eat mercury.
I put it in my tuna fish. It's really delicious.
Yes, it
You
is.
know?
I just kind of spread it right out there on the.
It's a little salty, you know.
I
Don't
actually
try
got-
this at home, kids. Don't try this at home.
Yeah, please don't. I actually got tested for metals after the fire, and mercury was one of the things that I got tested for. And the doctor was actually explaining that some people, just as Jan mentioned, that eat like way too much sushi.
Really?
Actually-
Oh, that would be me.
Actually have detectable amounts of mercury, and they can pick the stuff out
Really?
in your blood test. Yeah.
So once my arm starts to glow, I need to cut back on the sushi.
Yeah, there you
Well,
go.
that's only if you're going to Fukuyama. If you're eating Fukuyama sushi. Then you're in
Fukushima,
Fukushima,
Yeah,
because I
Fukushima.
probably have sushi once a week, maybe.
You know, so here's an interesting thing. Microsoft AI outperforms doctors on complex diagnosis with
Yes.
80% accuracy. Microsoft unveiled an AI diagnosis orchestrator that solved more than 8 out of 10 challenges, according to the New England Journal of Medical Cases. So, I mean, doctors are now using AI.
Yeah, but that last
To,
20% must be a bitch.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, it's like crazy.
Like they took my arm off instead of my foot because AI was only 80% right.
Yeah, but doctors were less than 80% right. They were only like 60% right.
Yeah,
Oh, are
and
they? I
now
don't
they're
know.
finding. Yeah, now they're finding that people who had LASIK might be having some problems now due to the repercussions of LASIK. Did you read that?
No, I didn't see that. No.
Do your own research. Do your own research on that. I read something about it.
Well,
You
it
know-
looks like I'm going to keep all my hair, so I'm not too worried about the hair part of it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. If you lose your hair, soon they're going to have this technology of the nanocells. It'll rebuild your body. It's going to be the fountain of youth. You could have anything you want. You can even lose weight. You could have a mustache. Anything you want, man. You can have it.
There you go. I read. Yeah, do your own research, but I read or saw something that these insulin shots that people are taking for weight loss.
Yeah, very bad.
Ozempic.
Ozempic and other
Yeah.
brands. Actually, okay, so it gets rid of your fat, but it also deteriorates your muscle.
It does, and you'll never get off of it either. It's really bad for you. Yeah.
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 I saw
You know.
saw a headline this morning. I didn't read the article, but it was saying that they're discovering that in many cases, chemotherapy for cancer patients is actually, in essence, pushing the cancer around to different parts of the body and
Oh wow!
is causing its own set of
They're
problems.
starting to discover also the ivermectin. People that have had cancer, what do you call them? Like a golf ball, tumors, that they put them on ivermectin, and ivermectin just eats up the cancer and goes away. Literally
Just
goes
remember,
away.
it's not.
Do
it's
your
not a
own
tumor.
research on that. Do your own research on
Oh,
that
I've-
ivermectin business.
I've read quite a bit of-
research for weeks after every one of these shows. My God!
Yeah, I've
That's
read-
right. You'll be spending the rest of your life doing research.
I think your camera moved, Jan.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
got
well,
it
yeah,
right out of your
we're
mic.
looking at your butt cheek.
Oh, wow. Unbelievable. What do I have to do about that? All right. Well, let me do this. Make it easy.
We're looking at the
I don't see
microphone
how
you're
the
not
camera-
talking into, by the way.
Yeah, that's right. I'm not talking into that microphone. How'd you figure that out, Fred?
because your sound is awful. I was going to say something before we got started, but I was like, yeah, it's just a prop today.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned it now.
Where are you, Jan? Are you still in the States?
Yes, I am still in the States.
Are you in some motel room in Moab, or are you in Vegas?
No, I just wanted to, I spent this good money for this AI business, and I'm not a green screen. I spent good money for the green screen, and I don't know what just happened with I guess somehow automatic tracking just took over. But I'm working on it right now at breakneck speed to get my camera back on. There we go. And I think if I turn it back on now, I am back in the picture. Yeah, that's crazy that it didn't work like that. Somehow it's anyway, it's a new camera. I'll show it to you. It's called the Insta360 Link, and it's on sale right now on Amazon, and you could find it on soundbroker.com, by the way. But basically, you could actually see this. And it's great. It's a 4K camera, and it's pan and tilt and zoom. But sometimes what happens is, even though I have it off, it will still pan, tilt, and zoom to follow my face around. So I move to the right.
That's not all of it following around, Jan.
Yes, that's it. That's it. So, Fred, I don't sound good.
Check out Hikvision. Man. Those guys are.
You sound like you're in a room somewhere. You're not talking into that microphone. That microphone.
Well, let's see what's going on with my microphone. I'm trying something new today. These are the Open Fit. Normally, I use the what else do I use?
Let me know.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what. I'll switch over because I wanted to use my Heil PR40, which is right here, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to figure it out in time, and just because of the change of setup.
Should really get yourself an HLH Quattro 6000 XS.
What did I get myself?
I think it goes up to 11, the new ones, don't they?
Oh, yeah, that's fantastic.
Anybody see the Spinal Tap
if you can find it.
movie?
No, it's supposed to come back. I don't think it's out yet, is it?
Well, the run-up to it, I just went and saw the other day, was a Fandango event. So it's Rob Reiner comes on, he introduces the movie, and then he has a little deal at the end that talks about the stuff. But it was it was fun. Now you're even worse.
Yeah, you sound like you're in the other room now.
I'd like to point out my fancy camera. It's right there. It is the built-in camera on a really old, like a 2012 MacBook Air.
Yeah, why do people buy all these cameras? Mine seems to work fine. It's just built in the damn screen.
I have an iPad camera, but I can't
Sennheiser
show it to you.
835S microphone through an Edirol USB interface.
I'm just talking through the microphone on my ears.
Yeah.
My Sony,
I did
Sony.
I bought I bought an O1V off of eBay because I had a little analog mixer, and I thought that I could use the slot to do testing with my Waves card, and as it turns out, the original O1V will not support the Waves card, even though it has a Yamaha YAGD slot. So I'm looking at trying to figure that out at some point. But
O1Vs are how old? I mean, when did those things first come out?
They were like the first, weren't they?
No, they weren't the first. But they go back. They go back a ways.
Oh yeah, I mean, way back.
An O1V96 will support a Waves card in its YAGD slot, but the original O1V that I fortunately I did spend a lot of money on it, but
I might have a 96 lying around that we don't use.
Yeah. If you want to get rid of it, I'll ship it to Arizona.
It might spontaneously combust.
Well, it certainly will today. It's 116 at my house. And apparently Fred is in a cooler part of town. It's only 114.
It's only 114 on my roof.
I think it was 93 at my house today, and I thought that was pretty hot.
Wow. It's about 75 here.
It's in the 90s out here in the San Fernando Valley. but it was even hot. I went over to the Palisades today, and it was even hot over there. Today was.
Well, it's
generally
83 in
hot.
Hollywood Hills.
Yeah, I'm in La Crescenta, and we're up like 3,000 feet, so I'm usually about 10 degrees cooler than the valley is, San Fernando Valley.
Where's our fearless leader? I don't see him.
Oh, he disappeared.
He's on the bottom.
Oh.
I'm having trouble with my microphone.
Hell, you're having trouble with your camera too.
We were trying to get Jan to sound better, and now he's in the other room.
Yeah, now he's not even. He's on somebody else's computer now, on somebody else's Zoom. See, now his wife's probably tickling him.
Can't even see me.
Oh, there we go. We can see you, but we can't hear you now.
Yeah, you still can't hear you. You sound like you're in the other room.
It sounds like your mic is off, but there's another mic on in the room somewhere that's picking you up anyway. It's one of those kind of sounds.
So I just got off a Zoom call with a client or a band that's coming through Bend, and the guy's bringing a Rivage.
Oh.
But he wants to leave early, so he doesn't want to use his fiber because they've got to make it to like Saskatchewan, like for a show the next day. That's not part of the tour, and then rejoin the tour. So he wanted me to provide fiber for him, and I'm like, well, I've got my Digico stuff, which is here, and I've got my Midas stuff, which is down there. And he's telling me that we'll just use my Midas fiber because it has the same connector. And I'm like, what could possibly go wrong?
Did you offer him up the gamble? Say, leave your
did.
Rivage on the truck. Make your life.
I
easier.
did. I always do. Most of these guys are too locked into they don't want to do any work. They just want to hit next on their scene control. But I'm like, just because it has the same connector doesn't mean that it's functioning on the same protocols. Because there's only so many fiber connectors, right? But how is it wired? You know, is the Midas protocol? I don't know. I don't know anything about the Rivage. So I don't know if maybe this was going to work.
Just the fiber itself, it could be single mode versus multi-mode.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know that what this fiber is designed to do for Midas is going to actually work for the Yamaha, and I don't have a Yamaha to test it with. The only good part is the fiber is already down there because the HD96s are parked in Bend because they do some tours with Railroad Earth, and then I actually have one set up in the house down there trying to just get used to it so we can all build show files and just without the tour breathing down your neck, trying to figure out how to make it work.
Okay, I just Googled it. It says Midas and Yamaha Rivage systems utilize different fiber-based network protocols.
Yeah.
AES-50 for Midas and Twin LAN E Dante for the Rivage.
Yeah, twin line, yeah.
But this isn't AES-50.
So there's a MADI converter and all. God, anyway, good luck.
It's a DN. Hang on.
96?
Let me see what the thing is.
In essence, while directly compatibility is absent, utilizing a converter like the Yamaha RMIO64D for MADI or Dante makes it possible.
I know
Who
that
knows, man.
I can't screen share because Jan has that all whacked out, but I think I can drop this. It never worked.
That's all above my pay grade.
Never worked one time. I've never once been able to share anything on your.
Jan wanted to share some photos the other day, but just couldn't make it happen.
Yeah, and I can't drop an image into the chat either.
Now I should be in two places at the same
Oh
time.
boy! Now,
look, now we got it twice.
And your microphone is in a third place. So
microphone's still in the other room.
That's so funny.
It's the little carrot down on the bottom, Jan.
I just tried to put it in the chat,
I got to be on another call, but I'll see if I can stop back in. Cheers, guys.
Take care, buddy. We don't see you. See you next week.
All right, now I should be back in bed. Now I should be back in style here.
So I just tried to put it in the chat, Jan, and it says file is blocked for security reasons.
Well, hold on now. Let's see here what's going on.
I have
You
never
have the
once been
ability.
able to put.
All participants have the ability to share So what you need to do is click the green arrow on the bottom.
The bottom.
Yeah.
We'll see
And
later.
then you should be able to share. Now, if you can't share, that's on your end, and you need to figure out what you're doing over there in your settings to share. But
sure. Blame it on me.
Based on my settings, looking at sharing, you have the ability to share everything.
Well, it won't let you put it in the chat.
In the chat, everybody's ability to put it in the chat as well.
Nope. It
I
says
have the chat on.
blocked.
The chat
Says
is blocked?
It's image is blocked due to host security settings.
Well, let's see what this is.
Because I don't really
You know,
it's just a JPEG.
I think, Fred, I'm spending too much time in the Zoom test kitchen. That's my problem.
It's a fun place.
I love it. I love it. But for whatever reason, I seem to be having some trouble. So let's see the settings here. We're going to go into the settings. We're going into team chat, my account, video, and it seems like everybody should be able to chat.
Everybody can chat, but you can't share. You can't. I've never been able to share an image in any of your chats, so I just gave up and just said enjoy everybody else.
I'll look into that for the next meeting. I'll look up that for the next meeting. But as of right now, it seems as sharing, show chat previews. As I look at the chat previews, Fred is sharing a screen. There you go.
I tried to share and it kicked me out of the meeting.
Fred was able to share.
I clicked on share, and then over on the side it says share options, share sound, optimize video sharing, or share Zoom windows. And then I just picked my desktop. And
there you go, Kurt. I see you sharing right now.
Okay, that's the connector on both the Midas and the...
Why do I see myself sharing? What is going on here? Oh, okay, I see. We're sharing your screen, but you're showing the whole screen.
Because
you're showing everybody.
So this is the connector that's on both the Midas rack for optical, and apparently the same thing is used in the Yamahas. But
you need to change your sharing options, because right now you're sharing your main screen.
Yeah.
You don't see this picture.
No, all we see is we see what you're seeing on your screen.
Okay.
Which is kind of interesting because
well, it just says allow to share the window.
Okay, let me walk you through it a little bit here if I can. Let me share my screen and let me see if I can show you. What are you seeing right now? Are you seeing my logo?
Yeah, yep. SoundBroker, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you could share your Zoom screen, Fred, right? You can't share your Zoom screen.
I didn't try that. Stand by. Share. Screen 1, share.
Nope, you can't share your Zoom screen.
Is that your desktop?
So let's walk you through it. Okay, on the bottom middle of the screen is a green share button.
Yeah, I got all that.
You click on that, then it gives you an option of what you want to share. You'll see, in my case, I have two desktops. So I have desktop 1, desktop 2. And then at the very top, it says screens, documents, and advanced.
Nope,
so you
don't have any of that. It says to share, allow to share window, allow to share screen.
You're probably not on the latest version of Zoom, I'm going to guess.
I'm joined from the browser.
That's probably what it is.
I can't join from Zoom because every time I try to do it, it wants all these passwords and stuff, and I don't have any of that. So I always have to join.
Oh, so that's what it is. You're not in the Zoom app.
No, because it can never connect. It wants all of this stuff that I don't have.
I just click on Jan's link and I go right into the meeting.
Yeah, that's all I do too. I just click on the link.
I do click on the link and it takes me to a thing that just says Zoom, but it doesn't open, and then it gives me an option to join from the browser. and I have to.
And
The
now,
only
are
way I
you
can
using
ever
a
get in
Mac
is
or a Windows machine?
Mac.
Okay, then it should be really simple. Tell you what we'll do after this. I will stay with you, and Fred and I will stay with you and walk you through it so that you can get in. All right?
All right.
I gotta
You
run, y'all.
make it easy.
Have a good one.
Greg, thanks a
Yeah.
lot.
I gotta
Yep.
go too.
Have a
Yeah.
great week.
See you next
Well,
week.
it's okay. We've been on for a while now. We can get off. What the hell? You know?
Bye, Wayne Pierce.
See you, dude.
Bye, Wayne
See
Sims.
you, everybody.
Bye,
Yeah,
everybody.
Bye, Ruth.
All right. Now they're gone. We could talk about them. All right. I love it. You know?
God, it's about time.
Yeah, it's about time, man. About time.
So now that Jan's meeting's actually started, Kurt, why don't you go out and go back to the email and click on the link and see if you can come back in.
Okay.
Yeah. Click on the link, and there you go. There he is. He's gone. All right.
Now we can talk about him. God, this is a great day.
He's a great guy, man. I got to tell you, he's a great guy, you know? But, you know.
I'm curious whether it's single mode or multi mode fiber.
Yeah.
'Cause
Well, I don't know
use all
what it
single
is.
mode in broadcast.
Yeah, I'm not
Hey.
sure what he's doing or how he's doing it, but he should be able. I mean, if everybody should be able to be able to join the meeting from the link. You know, everybody should be able to join the meeting from the link. See, now I'm in the theater. There you go. Now it's right, and my vocals should be synced up. I could see that it looks like it is.
You
And
sound
so-
much more distinguished all of a sudden as well.
Yeah,
Well,
not
I don't know
roomy.
what happened with Ecamm Live. I was using Ecamm Live to do this meeting, and from what I've learned is you got to go in through Ecamm Live and not have Zoom running in the background. But it turns out that Ecamm is not picking up the microphones as well as Zoom does. I didn't even have the choice to put this microphone on to the Ecamm Live. So
It's
I
so
guess
simple,
when-
it's overly complicated. Sounds
Well,
like.
it's easier to just to go through Zoom like this. There's no complication at all. What's up? Somebody's coming in. Who could it be? Ladies and gentlemen, there you go. So how'd you do it, Kurt?
No,
Oh,
you're
you're
muted.
muted. I'll unmute you.
I had to go in through my browser. It goes to a Zoom page, but nothing happens when I click join meeting.
Okay, so basically what happens is you go to the Zoom page, and then it gives you a choice on how you want to launch the app, whether you want to launch the app or whether you want to go through your browser. So
If I try to
it's-
launch the app, nothing happens at all.
Okay, then what I highly recommend is you uninstall the app and reinstall the app. Because evidently the Zoom app is corrupted. Right, Fred? Don't you think so?
Yep, that's exactly. I think that the Zoom app is corrupted on your computer. So
And
Yeah,
if you
so-
could do it right now so we could talk about you again. No, just kidding.
Yeah, that's right. Because we were talking
Well,
about
everything
you,
else
man. We were
about me's
talking about
corrupted,
Taco
so-
Tuesday.
Everything
know,
else about me's
Wednesday.
corrupted.
you know what I can't find anymore is it used to be able to have there was a little green dot up at the top. You could click on it. It would give you the meeting ID and password.
It's still there. It's still there, Fred. You see, if you look up, you'll see there is a shield with an exclamation point.
Oh yeah, okay. They changed it to the yellow shield. It used to be green. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
So here, Kurt,
that's-
you can write this down. So the
Well, don't give out the password, otherwise we'll be bombed. So
Well, we're not on the air, are we?
Yeah, we are.
Oh, sorry. Okay, well, get us off the air. I thought we were done.
All right, we're done. Goodbye, everybody. That's it. We're out of here. Anybody have anything they want to say? So Ken Porter's coming to town. I'm going to be racing with him at the F1 on the go-karts this week, Friday.
Nice.
So that's cool. So I just want to let you know that. My luck is doing really, really well. I had a great meeting with the doctor, and she tells me I'm in perfect health. So I'm happy, and life is good. Life is good. So that's it. With that in mind, remember, you make it happen. Everything you heard today is an opinion. Do your own research. This has been our 267th meeting. Next week, 268. And we will see you then. And have a great week, everybody.